Margaret in Windsor, and I've put up some videos today. My father's Edward VIII, who married Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Windsor, and they were married in 36, and she was actually queen. School teacher from Madison, Wisconsin, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. My father never married Wallace Simpson. She married an imposter. There were several pretending to be my dad. None of them were, of course. Wallace married the double in 37, the same year, the Illuminati that took down my father and my mother and then kidnapped me when I was born in 39. They kidnapped me in 41 and brought me to Moulton, Alabama. Gave me the name of a dead twin. Both twins had been murdered by their mother. They were born out of wedlock. But anyway, the Illuminati took my father down with character assassination and really have disposed of anything they could get their hands on, including my mom's pictures. Georgia O'Keefe was tied up, my aunt. She loved her baby sister. That's the one thing in history that's correct. She told her mother she would take, when her mother died, she would take care of my mom, who was the youngest. And it's such a horrible thing, how all of it, but it's come to be that my father would not go along with the Illuminati, take orders. That's the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, the friggin' Kennedy clan. Joe Kennedy was appointed by another Jew, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in 36. How quaint. That's the year my father became king. And he wouldn't follow their orders, so they planned to take out my dad, and they did. Then they kidnapped me because my father never meant to leave. They forced him out, and he had proper papers drawn up that went, and they were legal. The day I was born, I'm Queen Victoria II, the legal heir to the British crown. Yes, Elizabeth's always known. They've always known. Her father helped kidnap me. I put up pictures where in 39 he's at Hyde Park with Roosevelt and Eleanor and Roosevelt's mother, and of course Elizabeth's mother is with her father, the illegal bunch. And by the way, her mother is kin to the Rothschilds, the banking that controls everything. Okay. They're the Illuminati. She doesn't, well, she's not legal. She's a traitor, a war criminal. She knows about my kidnapping. She knows my father was married to my mom. She knows it all. So anyway, what am I trying to tell here? I simply was looking back and put a video up now a few minutes ago, a little bit ago, because some nice lady was asking me about that, and she is a nice lady. Yeah, there's some nice ones there. Okay, there's always somebody else. But, excuse me, she said something about my sons, and I forgot what, but it was something I must have put up, because looking back, it didn't mean anything to me at the time. I didn't make the connection. But when my first was born, Mark, of course, he's the heir after me, legal monarch after me. And I went to a doctor there in Atlanta area, and he was born. Now then I got pregnant, and it was not all that long later till I conceived Scott. I guess that's the right word, right? Tired and sick right now from being beat up and how it's been done. But anyway, when I went in just before Scott was born, I don't know if it's 2 weeks or 1 week prior, I'd never seen another doctor. He didn't have anybody else in practice or anything. When I had Mark, I never saw another doctor. Okay, now then, I'm pregnant with Scott, and he's ready to be born 2 weeks or a week prior. This doctor, very nice doctor from Spain, came in with my file. Now, my regular doctor's outside in his office. And anyway, he was from Spain. And he told me he was a really didn't like what had happened to me. He said, first of all, your child at birth, Mark, he's talking about, should have been tested, his blood tested, your blood tested. And he said, you really need to go with this child and have the blood test done. He said he might need a transfusion at birth, which my first son could have needed and didn't get. So it was not a simple thing that this doctor was ready to overlook this time. So why? Why would he overlook something so important? And it took a doctor from Spain to step in and order it. Well, he scheduled it. I was going, but I went into labor prior. And I went just a couple of days before the tests were to be done. I went into a Catholic hospital because I've tried to explain what happened to Mark when he was born at the Baptist hospital. I did not know how cruel people can be. They tried to do away with it. They didn't succeed. I hope they never have. I hope my sons are alive and well and they know all this hideous mess and why it happened because of who we are. Because my father did the right thing. He married a beautiful lady, a school teacher, an American, by the way, who history has overlooked and just taken off the map. You know, any pictures of her, they've replaced her and had her dying in 84. And by the way, she lived in Beverly Hills. Had a home out there, my mom did. My mom married my father, and when I was born, she was 40 and my father 45. So they never thought that my parents would have me. An heir to the crown. So they thought when they got rid of my father, that was it. Only it didn't work that way. But anyway, I have to, looking back, when I had Scott, wasn't able to have the tests done to see if he would need a transfusion at birth. I've told this on the other one, and it's so bad. They handed me a baby that wasn't my baby. This baby looked like he might be 3 months old. He had this head of hair. It was, my husband's had, well, most of his hair was gone, but he would have had blondish brown hair. I'm auburn. And Mark, my first one's blonde. And here I have this baby that looks like he's from I don't know where. I couldn't believe it. It was a shock, and I told them that's not my baby. Anyway, brought him home, and I've told this. It was like a nightmare. He would the baby would scream and cry all the time, and I felt so sad. I'm thinking, I don't love my baby. I love babies, but I'm not feeling this is my baby. But I couldn't explain it. So I'm going to fast forward. I put this up just now, and I put it up in the past. Over the years, I've put up a narrative of my life, I guess, or a diary is what you would call it. And he was returned to me, Scott. My son was returned. We had moved when Scott was a year old. He wasn't with me. I had another baby. We moved, it was a switch. So I don't know what happened to that baby, but when we moved at 1 month, about a month or a month and a half later, Scott was returned to me up in Donaldsonville, Tennessee. We'd moved to there. And no wonder they didn't want the tests done. I'm looking back now thinking about it because the DNA would be required. My husband always gave blood for me. He wouldn't let me go and have if you give to the Red Cross or have your blood done. Of course, there's tests that had to be done somewhere back there that had my blood. But I'm thinking really now, looking back at it, why? Because the blood test would have shown if my children needed transfusion, which the royal family intermarried too close. And they had problems with the blood. And Tsar Nicholas, a beautiful man, and his family who were destroyed, and Anastasia up here in Charlottesville, they murdered in '84. And so horrible. And their youngest son was the heir, and of course he had blue blood, or I've forgotten what to call it. Maybe I should have Googled it, but needed transfusion at birth. And back then they didn't have it because the family intermarried too close together. Well, my mother was an O'Keefe, so she wasn't a part of too much intermarrying. There was no relationship other than they married. And then they had me, and then Mark and Scott. But anyway, that was the reason they didn't want them to have a blood test done in case they needed a transfusion, because, hey, why do they need transfusions? Question mark. So there you go. It's such a hideous thing, and I hope it's about to go into a world court where the Kissingers and the bloody mafia Illuminati that have done all this, and the people that went along with it, have to pay for their crimes for once, even if God digs them out of the grave or wherever they are. He keeps them. Amen.